We are honored tonight to have with us the Minister of the Chinese Embassy, Minister Li Kexin, who is also the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy. He is representing Ambassador Cui Tiankai, who could not be here tonight because of a scheduled conflict. But that gives me the opportunity to make a point that many people may not appreciate. I was a Deputy Chief of Mission twice before I became an ambassador, and I came to the conclusion that the Deputy Chief of Mission was the most important officer in an embassy. And when I became an ambassador, it reinforced that impression. Because I discovered that the DCM indeed was the most important person in the embassy. An ambassador has the luxury of being able to burnish your reputation by your skillful handling of the small problems. But the big problems you give to your Deputy Chief of Mission to handle. And if they're worth anything, they do a superb job at it. All of mine did. And so I think it's very fortunate for us that we have Minister Li with us tonight. He's had a long career in the Foreign Ministry, specializing in international organizations and international economic affairs. He served at the United Nations. But he has also been the Deputy Mayor of Duyun City in the southern part of Guizhou Province for 2 years. And he described Duyun as a small city to me, and I asked what the population was. Only 500,000 people. But for those of you who watched the Democratic debate last night among presidential candidates, you will have noted that 2 of them, 2 out of 10, were either an active mayor or a previous mayor. And therefore, our Deputy Mayor of Duyun has a great prospect ahead of him.
Thank you, Ambassador Sasser, for your kind introduction. This being number 2 is a very hard job, and which I try my best to serve the ambassador and work for the embassy. But Your Excellencies, Dr. Wang Qi, Ambassador Roy, Ambassador Sasser, Ambassador Allen, fellow members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor to participate in today's event. Let me convey the congratulations from Ambassador Cui Tiankai to U.S. China Policy Foundation on your successful launching of the annual gala dinner. My sincere congratulations to Ambassador Allen. You and USCPC have done a great job, not only by explicitly supporting open trade, but by real efforts promoting better understanding between Chinese and American business community, governments, and other stakeholders, marked, among others, by your recently published trade reports and your latest trip to China. This also goes to Ms. Kemp and Mr. Wayland for Merck and CHUB's continuous work in strengthening China-US business connections. Well, not many people expect the trade issue between China and US lasts such a long time. First of all, let me be clear. The trade issue was initiated by the 301 investigation early last year, followed by a number of rounds of tariff imposition from the US side. We believe this is wrong and the issue should come to an end as soon as possible. The recent round of talk made substantial progress, and we do hope to strike a deal as phase 1. But trade is not the only picture of the bilateral relationship, which is standing at a very critical juncture. We see across the broader challenges, from trade to technology, from security to people exchanges. Some of my American friends tell me that being tough on China has become a bipartisan consensus. Is it really the case, and why? Is it the relationship with China you really want? At this crossroad, we need to look at some fundamental problems of China-U.S. relations. I believe the current U.S. policy on China is embedded with some serious misjudgments. First, it is believed that China for a long time has had a sophisticated strategy to take over U.S. You see the narratives from the 100-year marathon, Death by China, Steele's War, and a few other pieces, which unfortunately have become guidebooks for some in this administration. Second, it is believed that U.S. made mistakes in the past on China. Engagement doesn't work at all. Quiet diplomacy is a bad choice. China has not changed as expected. Third, it is believed that the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese people can be dealt with separately. Blaming the party is a safe play, and the people are naturally standing at the opposite to the government. We see these misjudgments are being materialized. High-level officials have made paranoid accusations on China. Blunt actions are taken, especially by law enforcement and intelligence branches. Besides tariff, sanctions and export controls are put on Chinese companies. Chinese scientists and researchers working in the U.S. are intensively targeted for investigation. A number of delegations from China are interrogated at airports. Even visa becomes a prominent issue, affecting both official visits and the students pursuing their academic achievements in this country. It seems McCarthyism is back. People are talking about Cold War and decoupling. To us, the answer is a clear no. It is a crime to push our two countries into a war with whatever forms and cut off from each other. I believe this is the common understanding for most people in China and in the US. But this understanding alone is not enough to turn the current situation around. We need a sea change of perception and approach concerning our relationship. I suggest American politicians take a serious and close look on China. Many people in the US government claim to me, because China has changed behavior, the US has to respond. Has China changed? Yes. As the second largest economy in the world, we have more intertwined interests with other countries. There is more international exposure, and we need to take more responsibilities. But China's national strategy is a consistent one. Domestically, the development is always the core agenda. We are celebrating the 70th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic. We feel proud of what we have achieved, but we are also humbled. Next year, we will eliminate all rural poverty for the first time in Chinese history. Yet, we still have many things to do on improving economic structure, environmental protection, social safety net, Medicare, housing, education, employment. At the global front, we envision a community of mankind with shared interests. It is a world free from wars and conflicts with mutual respect and full development. This idea first appeared in the Book of Rice, one of Confucian classics, has been running for thousands of years, rather than 100 years. It goes beyond the dominance periphery prototype, and we believe it is the way that all nations in the world are wise to choose. Whatever we do internationally is for this idea, simple and clear, no scheming. But we are not building a utopian world. We need interactions with others. That's the purpose for all those rounds of trade negotiations, addressing trade imbalances, market access issues. A recent import-export in Shanghai reached $71 billion deals. The U.S. had the biggest exporting team with nearly 200 companies. We take actions. Are China and the U.S. different? Yes, we are. There are things make the Chinese, make Americans the Americans. We in China believe in consultation than confrontation, collective thinking than individualism. There is much more trust on government than suspicion. But as to the core of human nature, we are not so different. Chinese dream and American dream have a lot in common. Then I suggest American politicians take a serious and close look on the Chinese Communist Party. It is politically ignorant to separate the Chinese Communist Party from the people. If you look at the contemporary and modern history of China, every step of progress for Chinese people is related with the party. It is true the party had its ups and downs, made mistakes, but the purpose of the Chinese Communist Party has always been for the fundamental interests of the broadest people. Yes, 15 years ago, I worked in Guizhou, one of the poorest provinces in China, as the deputy mayor of a city in the south. I saw how the party members devoted to the local development, helping the poor. They made sacrifices. They are low paid, but no complaints. I worked with them for 2 years. 90 million party members in China have integrated so closely into the whole population by their distinctive efforts leading others, with others, for the common good of the entire nation. You may notice the enthusiasm from the people in the parade at the anniversary on October 1st. The happy faces, waving to the party leadership when crossing the Tiananmen Square. These are original, cannot be orchestrated. So I don't think here some politicians' narratives on the party will have a popularity in China, because when you attacked the Chinese Communist Party, you attacked the Chinese people. Is it an authoritarian or democratic system? If you put the Chinese experience into American democracy framework, it will not fit at all. But I tell you this, in China, people express their views more on the substance on a daily basis rather than on a certain period of time, such as the campaign trail. The top leader of China is not produced in 18 months, but 18 years or more. From a young rising star official to be part of a Politburo, every career step is judged. Mass people from villages, counties, cities, provinces, government departments are consulted about his or her performance with scorecards. If the official fails the people at any step, drop out. This is how the democracy in China is run. This is a long-term, all-around democracy, and this is the legitimacy of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is not a party that remains unchanged. It is dynamic, tries to improve itself. A recent party plenum set governance modernization as the latest effort for renovation. Finally, I hope that real diplomacy can play a central role in our relationship. It is troublesome to see real diplomats in this administration are not so much handling the bilateral relationship with China. Rather, law enforcement and intelligence are playing a dominant role. Some self-claimed China hands who only have superficial knowledge about China are playing a dominant role. And some fake diplomats with politicians' mindset and ambitions are playing a dominant role. In real diplomacy, there are certain lines you don't cross. When there's a clear violence in Hong Kong, the top figure at the Capitol Hill claims the demonstration is a beautiful sight to behold. You cross the line. The bill passed at Congress this week is a gross interference in China's internal affairs. When the top diplomat time again meets those from Xinjiang claiming they and their families have been persecuted by the Chinese government, and it's proved they are sheer liars, but still keeps blaming China, you cross the line. What we are doing in Xinjiang is the eradication of extremism. We have no single reason to persecute Uyghur people. They are Chinese citizens, and they are our brothers and sisters. When the military invite Taiwanese Navy commander to attend an official function here in DC, and you tell me the gentleman from Taiwan is in personal capacity, you cross the line, and you make it difficult for me to talk to you in a professional way. This should be changed. I appeal my American colleagues, let the professionalism prevail. Let strategic thinking prevail. Let the national interests prevail. Of course, it is not a one-way traffic. China needs adjustments, needs to accommodate American concerns. That's why we need communication, quality communication, not megaphone diplomacy. Dialogue and construction and consultation are not necessarily leading to immediate results. But no dialogue and consultation will easily lead to suspicion and misunderstanding. For major countries like the U.S. and China, the top challenge is domestic. The one who can successfully manage the governance and the development within the country will sustain. So we need to first run our own house well. But in this highly interconnected world, we have to deal with each other and make this interaction helpful to our respective domestic agenda, not the otherwise. This is what Dr. Kissinger describes as co-evolution of major powers. In this co-evolution, competition is inevitable. But we need a healthy competition, taking the competitor as impetus. 5G is not the ultimate destination. We'd like to see 6G from the US and then 7G from others. At the same time, there are common challenges for our two countries at the global level: terrorism, climate change, future technology security, such as AI. We should take the responsibilities. Perhaps we have to experience a painful process for this China-US relationship. I haven't seen a clear turning point yet. But I'm confident we can get over this because we have no other choice. Confrontation will hurt American interests, Chinese interests, a disaster to the world. I'm also confident because people like you, Ambassador Allen, Ambassador Roy, Ambassador Sasser, Secretary Franklin, Mr. Lampton, and others are there. While you are firmly protecting U.S. national interests, you understand the gravity of China-U.S. relations, the most important bilateral relationship in the world. When political tornado comes, people choose to hide in bunkers. But I believe people with real guts and strong sense of responsibility will man up, So just do it. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.